The Stoneleigh Woods proposal is one of many development projects in the community of New Paltz. The impacts, whether good or bad, are an undeniable externality of each project. The Stoneleigh Woods proposal is located politically in the village and geographically along the border of the Millbrook Greenway project, a site of great ecological importance. The proposal as it stands is about 63 acres bordering the site, bordering Sunset Ridge Road and Hummel Road, and directly behind the Duzine Elementary School. It contains 140 single housing units and a wastewater treatment plant. What could result from this project, either good or bad? And would it fit into the character of the community of New Paltz? After a widespread outpouring of opposition at last week's public hearing, it's obvious that the developers will have to either make amends or change their venue. We're here with Ms. McKinnon's 1A Participation in Government class discussing the Stoneleigh Woods development proposal. Let's talk about it. Let's do a raising of the hands. Who knows about the Stoneleigh Woods proposal? Okay. And why don't we start from this side of the room and we'll work our way over there. And just briefly tell us what you think about the proposal, how you feel about it.
I think it's a good idea in some ways, but in bad ways it takes away from wildlife. And yeah.
Great.
I think it might have some positives, but the negatives really outweigh all the positives, and I think it does far too much harm to the ecological system where it's located.
Great.
I think that the wetlands are too important to be destroyed like that.
Okay. Ned?
I think economically it's a good idea, but ecologically it's not very good.
Okay, good comments.
I feel like most of it's already been said. It's good, but it's really not.
Anybody back here? Okay.
I think it's a good idea generally, but it has a lot of drawbacks to it.
Do you have any specifics about the drawbacks?
Basically what was said, the wetlands, invasive species that might go into it, wildlife already there.
Great.
I agree with everybody that the negatives definitely outweigh the good things.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And the type of housing developments that are going in there kind of don't fit the character of New Paltz. So.
You guys have anything?
Yeah, I think it's a better idea than Crossroads. I think if we choose one, it'd definitely be this, to choose between them.
Okay, so it's sort of like one of the betters of the two evils.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Do you have anything? Okay. So just on a very consensus-based level, it seems that there's a lot of opposition to the project, and it stems from ecological concerns and environmental concerns. But as Tim noted, there are a number of other development projects, including the Crossroads project, which has dominated local headlines over the past few years. And it seems that this project is a lot better, especially in size and the impact.
So I'm going to ask you a student-based question. So with this development, if it were to be passed, there would be an influx of more students, which means larger class sizes, and generally that doesn't have the best impact on students. Also, I think a lot of us are aware about budget cuts and things of that nature that are going on now, and we're already having issues. More students certainly would help. Does anyone want to comment to that? Just the idea from a student perspective of larger class sizes, anything like that, how it makes you feel.
I think classes are big enough as it is for certain ones, and that we don't really necessarily need more students in them. But even though recently in the past few years, I guess, student percentage has gone down, but it doesn't feel that way to us. Like, I don't know, think about it. Like, think about your biggest classes, and they just feel like 30 people sometimes. Lowest, like 20. Just doesn't, I don't know, they try to say like we have smaller classes, but I don't agree, and I think the more students that might be coming in just wouldn't benefit us.
So you wouldn't like the idea of more students?
No, not really.
I agree that we may not need other students, but feel like that's kind of harsh, as in we don't want other kids.
Well, I think she's talking more about from an educational sense, not that she has anything against future New Paltz students.
Think about maybe athletics. Might go up a bit.
There you go, man. I'm sorry, you want to say something?
No, it would help athletics probably, since our school is pretty small compared to other schools, so the bigger schools usually have better athletics and stuff.
That's definitely true. It would help certainly a lot of extracurricular things like that as well. Anyone else want to say something on that lines of more students or bigger classes? For or against? No? Okay.
So, so what are some of the pros and cons of this project, and how do you think that it sort of balances out in the greater scheme of the whole thing?
Yeah, just off the top of your head.
Right. So we'll start again from this side of the room and work our way around, and if anybody has anything to say, we'll go for it.
One pro would be affordable housing, since New Paltz housing is really expensive. So.
Okay, great.
The more people in New Paltz, the lower taxes. And as far as cons, they're pretty obvious, I feel, but it would endanger local wildlife. I don't think the buildings fit in at all to the scheme of New Paltz. And I don't think we need any more population than what we currently have.
Okay, great. Anybody back here? Okay.
Well, I think traffic is already a big deal in New Paltz, and if you add more people to New Paltz, the problem will only get worse. Nothing's done about it.
Okay. That's
So-
a great point as well. That's a huge part of this issue.
Right.
The traffic already. I mean, I'm sure most of us drive here. You know, imagine going down Main Street on a Friday. You know how busy that is right now. Now, can you imagine that with a larger influx of people? So it's certainly something to think about.
Yeah, sort of like a Friday every day of the week, but not in a good way.
One of the pros would be that it would bring in some jobs and housing.
Okay. So jobs and housing is always good. Anybody over here?
Another con would probably be that it's really close to Duzine, and because there's a lot of little kids there, and so having that development right there might be a problem as well.
Okay, so obviously there are definite positives and negatives to the project, and some of them seem to be better than others. But in a general sense, is there anybody that is completely against the project? Would you raise your hand? Okay, so, and is there anybody who's completely in support of the project? Anybody who's like sort of in the middle of the road at this point, can't really form too strong an opinion? Okay, so why don't we ask a question about that? Do you feel that there has been a lot of information about the project that has been accessible by students to learn more about it? And do you feel like in the greater community there's been either a lot of information that's been disseminated or your access to it has been increased over the past few years? So we'll start on this side of the room again and we'll work our way through. So if anybody has anything to say. No? Ben? Okay. Anybody over here?
Well, I had never even heard of this project until you guys came here. So I haven't had a lot of access to information about it.
Right. Okay.
Joanna said.
Okay. So access has been limited, and you're really not 100% sure of like some of the specifics of the project. Okay.
I think there's a lot of information, but you have to go looking for it, and you have to be told that it's there. Like, as students with this issue, I don't think that people come to us and really tell us a lot about it.
Okay. And do you also feel like some of the information that's presented is a little bit abstract, especially for students?
Maybe a little bit.
Anybody over here? Okay, great.
Well, what kind of things do you think you guys can do as students, either for or against this? I mean, we're definitely a generation of people who have the internet and those kind of things. We can do things differently that were done even just 10 years ago as students. Do any of you have thoughts about it?
Well, as a student community, we should be able to come together as one and like learn more about these projects, get the word out there in the community, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out in the town itself and the village who don't know about it at all. Like my parents, for example, didn't really know about it until I told them about it from this class. And I think that we could get together, maybe like get, I don't know, like petition or something going around about it, like getting ourselves involved, showing the community that we're more than just the students and we're taking a stand against something that we're all doing.
I Anybody else?
I think if students did the work and really learn and look at these proposals, they can really come together and, you know, help out. Like, I think a lot of people would be a little more willing to support this if it were a little greener or something like that.
Well, on that same idea, New Paltz is definitely a very active community. Do you feel that the high school is as active as the community itself?
No.
That was no. Thank you.
Resounding no.
Anyone else want to comment to that idea? Either the idea of high school being active or what students can do?
Yeah, I'll comment. I think we can make it more active though. Like if we're the only ones that know about it, we can tell all the other students in the school and get them involved so that they can also help. Because like it just doesn't have to be like our class, and so it can be everyone.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there's a lot of clubs where you could piggyback these kind of ideas. Not necessarily just this project, but there's a number of them always, especially in New Paltz.
I think that like because if you're voting on it, you have to be like 18 or older to vote, and since a lot of the students are younger than that, like there are only a handful of seniors that are 18, so I think that also discourages them because they feel like they can't make a difference because of their age.
Okay, that actually is a really valid point. Recently, Rachel, didn't you pick up a voter registration form yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you did. And so I definitely think that's something. I think that went really well, guys. Thanks a lot. You know, just give yourself a round of applause. Let's be honest. So I'd like to thank Miss McKinnon for letting us interrupt her first block class. The class, you guys did a great job. Thanks a lot. And of course, Miss Cohn. Miss Cohn, who's a wonderful, incredible woman, and I want to thank her very much. A round of applause for Miss Cohn. There you go. All right. So that was our show. I'm Daniel Torres.
And I'm Mike Saracero, and this has been Talk About It.
See you next week.